Hello, how are we all doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are at the WordPress.com webinar for quick start getting blogging. That doesn't sound very good. My name is Tanya, and I am a happiness engineer here at WordPress.com, and I'm going to be your host today. And I was looking through the chat box here. We have got one more time such a wide range of people from all over the world. And this is probably one of my favorite parts of all of this, is how so many of us come together from every corner, like everywhere. We've got, okay, let's do a quick run through here. We've got Michigan, we've got Southern California, Serbia, Richmond. I don't know my states very well, so VA, I'm going to guess Virginia, but I could be wrong on that. Surrey, England, Charlotte, North Carolina, South Sudan, Kentucky, Toronto, Cleveland, India, Oklahoma, New York, Pennsylvania, New Mexico. Oh my God, Trinidad. Wow, Philippines, Scotland. Okay, I'm scrolling a little faster now. I am located in Alberta, Canada, in the Calgary area. So that's where I am. Oh, we got British Columbia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa. Oh, it is absolutely lovely. That's kind of my favorite part there, is just seeing where everyone is from. So welcome. Really appreciate you joining us today. And we're going to be focusing on a bunch of stuff to do with blogging. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we jump in here, because you're going to see my note here. I'm experimenting with you guys. So if you've been to any of our previous webinars, you know the format is usually quite standard. We watch a recording and then we do a live Q&A. Well, we're testing out a few new things. And for this particular one, I'm actually doing it all live. Everything's live. We're not watching any recordings. I don't even have clips to show you. We're going to do everything live. I've got a slide deck to help keep me on track. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this and see how it goes. And I appreciate your feedback on it. So we're looking to find out what you think of this. Do you like the way it's presented? Does it go too fast? Does it not go deep enough? Anything, whatever kind of comments you have to share. There is also a survey at the end when it shuts down, and your feedback in those surveys are invaluable to us. It's actually one of the reasons we're doing this experiment. So yes, let us know what you think. Now, throughout the webinar, you'll notice down the bottom of your Zoom screen, it shows on my screen here, this Q&A and double speech balloon. Any questions that you have throughout, please put them in that Q&A. I've got a couple of colleagues with me today. Sue and Jerry are in the background, and they're going to be keeping track of the Q&A and answering some questions by typing them. I will also try and catch some and do them live. The live presentation makes things a little bit trickier, so it's a little bit harder for me to grab, but I'll pause now and then and take a peek. What else? We are working in the WordPress.com hosting environment. So if you're not familiar, there's two sides of WordPress. Basically, you've got WordPress.com, which is a managed host. And there's also self-hosted WordPress sites where you might be hosted with a different company like GoDaddy, Bluehost, DreamHost, SiteGround, HostGator. There's hundreds of them. We're using the WordPress.com platform. That's who we are, that we're presenting from WordPress.com. But most of the stuff that we're going to cover is applicable no matter where you are, as far as hosting and tools and things like that. There will be some differences. There's some special features that are built right into WordPress.com that might not be available on a self-hosted. So keep that in mind as we go through. Kind of covers that, but yeah, definitely please try to put your questions into the Q&A. It's really tricky for us to keep tabs on the chat box as well. How do we know which one we have? First question, great question, Erica. The short answer is, who is your host? If your host is WordPress.com, and when you're logged into your site, if you're seeing like this sort of a thing with my home and upgrades and a plan name here, it might say free, personal, premium, business, pro, whatever the label is, your site is likely hosted with WordPress.com. So that's probably the easiest way. If you're not certain. Otherwise, it's knowing who your host is, right? So who are you paying to actually host your website, not your domain. Your domain is a separate piece. But yeah, that would be the telltale sign, I would say. You can also reach out to us and we can look. So you can always check with us and we can check into that for you. So before I start jumping into the things, let's have a quick little look at what we're doing. So this webinar is for bloggers, and we're going to be focusing on the essential steps to manage a blog on WordPress.com. Like I said, you can take some of that over to a self-hosted as well. And I'm also going to be pointing out how to find additional resources that will help you along the way. Okay, that's a really key part of building a website, is knowing where to get the answers. We at WordPress.com, our happiness engineers and our support, we're here to answer any of your questions. But really what we try to focus on is showing you where to find the information and learn how to do it for yourself. Like, we don't do the things for you per se. So, this is part of what I'll do today, is showing you where to find things. Now, you'll see on the right side of my screen the topics that I'm planning on touching on. Now, this is the first time I've done this live, and it's not scripted. It is practiced a little, but we're going to work through these. I've got a slide deck we're going to use to keep us on track, but I'm not going to be able to deep dive on every single option and feature and point. And depending on how the questions go and how sidetracked I get, we might even run out of time. So this is a little bit of an experiment. One thing I do want to mention is that our standard format for the blogging webinar is available. And this actually isn't the one I wanted here. Let me open. Okay, so at WordPress.com webinars, you can access all of this is where you can register for all of our daily webinars, but also on the Learn More pages for each of them, you'll see that you can watch the recorded session. So if you scroll down, there's a recording, and this is the recording that we normally play during these webinars. It's our demo. It's, very properly done. It's scripted, it's organized. There's no hiccups along the way. So you can definitely watch that. I'm going to pop that one into the chat box that you can click on and save it from there. Okay, so that's how you can access the demo recording. We're covering a lot of the same points today. It's just going to be done differently. And okay, so I'm not going to read through these. We'll hit them as we hit the slides. Then the one more thing I want to do, because the last time I tried this, I didn't give this information until really late, and so a lot of people missed it. I'm going to copy all of these links and paste them into the chat box. So let's do that. And just a second while I make a note over here. Okay, so these links here are all different ways you can get support. If you are hosted with WordPress.com, you can email us. You can reach out to us through the link of WordPress.com/contact. But also in your site, there's a question mark down the bottom right corner where you can click on Contact Us to reach out to our happiness engineers. If you don't have this question mark anywhere in your site, then you're probably not with WordPress.com. So that's another indicator for you. And you can also search our knowledge base here. So you can search for all of the information in here, articles, any topics. And if we look at this, I put that in the links as well. So knowledge base. Okay, so you can just get to that main site and this is what it looks like. All right, so you can just search for topics in here as well. We have video tutorials. We've got a whole bunch of guides on full site editing. And I want to specifically point that out because this is a new feature and there's a bit of a learning curve to it. So in addition to these support documents here, we've also got a webinar. And if you scroll to the bottom of this, there's a link here that will take you through to this page. And this has the information on full site editing. Now we have one more live version of this webinar that is happening today, 10, 11, 12, 1, 4 hours from now. And yeah, we'd love to have you attend that, but we do also have a recording of one of the versions here and in our YouTube channel. So YouTube, and these links, again, they're all in the chat box there. But this is our WordPress.com YouTube channel. And we've got some of those recordings in here, and we're constantly adding more that you can access and see, in all kinds of little short ones, how-tos, all kinds of stuff. So really great for learning how to use the tools and the software and all that kind of stuff. So that is that. Yeah, and you can access our other webinars. We have courses, which I'll touch a little bit more on in a minute. And we have options where we can build the site for you. So that is programs we have available. It's just not what our regular support does. But there's a couple of different levels. The built by WordPress or built by WP.com is a more robust service for like an e-commerce store or an online educational setup or something. Do it for me is for a little bit of a starter site. Maybe you're an author or a small business and you just need, 4 pages of the basic structure or something like that. So those are some options there. So that's it on that one. I'm going to flip over to my slides. And one of the things, let's really jump right in here talking about blogging. There are a ton of different components to consider when it comes to blogging. And that's before you even get started. So some of those things include this little list here. So what pages to include, understanding things like your why, what, goals, niche, and audience. These are things that are part of your planning process, brainstorming what topics and planning out your content. Now, I'm sure you can tell by the nature of those topics, they're more conversation. It would be more text-based stuff. They're not really things that I can demonstrate and show you on screen. So rather than put you to sleep by just talking that much, we're not diving into it. We don't have the time to properly explore it. However, they are all covered in detail in our free blogging course. So that's one of the things I want to show you is that if you go to wpcourses.com, and that again is in those links, you can register for free. All of our courses are free. And you can also log in if you're not already logged in. Now, I only held this screen up so I could show you what this page looks like, but I'm already logged in. So once you click that login button and log into your account, it's going to take you to our community page as the first stop. So we really encourage you to get involved and, chat with people and respond to people, let us know how things are going. But then under all courses, you can get to the courses. You'll notice there's a couple of archives. That's because of recent changes we've made. These 2 will be going away by the end of the month. But these top 3 are our primary courses. And for the blogging one, when you go into the actual course, when you're logged in, you are going to, let's see here. Oh, just to clarify, I noticed a comment in the chat box. In a webinar, the attendees can't copy out of the chat box. The 3 dots doesn't work to copy those messages, although it does for hosts and presenters, and backups and whatnot. So it's kind of weird, but you can click on the links in the chat box. And if somebody, what have we got going on here? If I can paste them into the Q&A, if somebody wants to put a question into the Q&A that asks for the additional links, then I can answer that with the links in there, and then you can copy it of the Q&A. So that's a fun trick that we can do. Anyways, back to the course. Okay, so as you go through, I'm not going to spend any more time on this other than go here and you can see the full breakdown of all the lessons. We've got modules broken up by lessons, and it deep dives on all things to do with blogging. So it's a really great place to go to really dig deeper. Okay. So yeah, so that's before you even get started. Those are things that you need to consider, and I really recommend the course for really diving into that stuff. So next thing up here is your content. I mean, that's the biggest part of what blogging is all about, is creating content. And your site content is created in two areas, pages or posts. The best way to think of this is pages as being your static content, okay? So anything like about page, contact page, home page, they're the permanent pieces of your site. And you can also create custom post or category pages for displaying your posts. And your posts are your dynamic content. So again, as the screen says, think of these as your articles or updates, journal entries, news releases, how-to materials, like any of that kind of stuff. And it's typically your more current, fresh, new content that you're putting out on a relatively consistent basis. Doesn't mean you need to be doing like 6 a day or something like that, but you want to have a consistent flow to your content that you're constantly updating. And again, that side of things, the planning, the calendar, all that, we dive a lot deeper in the course on that side of things. So let's move on to blocks. Okay, and I'm going to show you, actually, I lied. Let's go back here. With your pages and posts, when you're in your site, and this is going to be true whether you're in WordPress.com or self-hosted, what I'm looking at right now is actually the main dashboard. Often you'll end up on like a home page, or your stats page might be where you land when you first log in. But this left sidebar is what really tells you you're on your dashboard, because you're seeing things like stats, posts, media, pages, okay? And this is where you then add new or edit your existing pages and your posts. And then you can also control your categories and tags for posts as well, which we will get into. So that's where the pages and posts are. So then once you're ready to start actually creating your content, whether you're doing a page or a post, you're using the block editor. And in the block editor is where you're adding different blocks. So let's look at that, okay? I'm actually going to create a new post. Let's think, what was the most useful? Yeah, that Just Paste link is really useful for that. So that thank you for popping that one in there as well. I always forget about that one. All right, so what we're looking at right now is the block editor, and we know where we are because of this label right here that says post. Now, as you navigate throughout your entire site and account, you've actually kind of got 3 editors, if you will: the post editor, the page editor, and depending if what theme you're using, you might also have a site editor. And this label right here is what tells you where you are. If it says post, you're creating a post. If it says page, you are creating a page, a static page. If it says template, then you are in the site editor. And if you're in the site editor and it says template right here, that is not where you should be creating your regular content. Your content should be done in the post or page editor here. The site editor we'll touch on in a little while here, but that's more for the controlling the theme and the overall look and layout of your site, okay, as a more global thing. So once you're in here though, anywhere you see a plus sign, so it might show up on the page here, you've got a plus sign up here. You can click these plus signs to explore and add blocks to your post or page. And when you hover over them, they might give you a little preview to sort of tell you, you know, what this particular block is for. And if there's a preview available, it'll show you one. And you can literally just click on these and it will drop them in. And then you can start typing, you know, my heading, whatever you want it to be there. Every single block has its own settings. So you're going to have a toolbar across the top that has unique settings for that block. And you're also going to get settings down the right-hand side. Now you'll notice the blue line switched from post. So this is our post settings to block. And these are the settings for the specific block you have selected. Okay, so that's how you would then edit and adjust the various settings on a particular block. So some of the more common blocks that you'll likely use most often are the heading, paragraph, image, and possibly galleries. And then when it comes to blogging specifically, the query loop and the blog posts block are two very common ones for displaying your posts. So, and basically you would just search for those. Now, the blogging blocks for query loop and blog posts, you would typically put that on a page, right? So what you would do is you would create a static page to display all of your posts, and then you would pop the that block on there. Now, when you add a new page in WordPress.com, you also get page layout options as well. And I think I'm derailing off of my slides here. Yeah, I want to go through the post settings. And okay. Nonetheless, let's show you real quick. When you add a new page, you get these page layouts, and you can just click on these. So you can hover over them to see if you like the way it's laid out. And then when you click it, it's going to put all of that content, those blocks onto the page for you. And you can use the list view here to see what the pieces are. And like if you click inside of one, it's going to auto expand some of this as well. So then you can see everything that is on this particular page. This one here is using the blog post block, and they name them up here so you can see what it is. And you would just go through and adjust the settings. You can filter it by category, all kinds of things that you can do with this particular blog post block. And the query loop block is another one where you have a bunch of settings. And I'm going to show you a page when we get to that part that shows you how those two blocks work a little bit more. But that is essentially what it is all about when it comes to working with the blocks. Now, like I said, we can't really dive into how to do all this with all of the blocks, but something I want to show you is if you look in our knowledge base here, list of all blocks, you can just start typing the word list and it'll show up here. This page is invaluable for accessing the instructions for all of the different blocks. So, you know, if you're in there and you're like, well, what is that cover block? You can click on that and get the full instructions of how to use it. There will be demo videos on some of them. And it just literally walks you through all of the pieces for the particular block. So excellent resource right there for having the list of blocks. And I'll throw that one into the chat for you as well. All right. I think I'm going to leave it there on the blocks. Really, it's about putting them on the page, playing with those settings, okay? And whether you're pulling in a page template, we also have block patterns. So you can go, whether you've used a page layout or not, if you wanted to drop a block pattern in on a page, you can do that. And let's say you wanted to throw a contact layout down at the bottom. You could do that. You could just go in here and click that, and it's going to put all those pieces in place for you. So between the page layouts and the block patterns, and the block patterns work in pages or posts. So you kind of got a lot of tools for really simplifying how to get a page or post laid out. All right. Let's go over here. So something I want to look at closely, we can see we're on a page here again because of this top sidebar. So let's go back and open a post. And I'm just going to do another draft one here. And let's have a look at some of these settings. Okay, so just to talk through this briefly here. Categories and tags are important. They're what allow you to organize your post content. Featured images are used in a variety of different areas, either throughout your site or also with social media when the content is getting shared out. There's an excerpt option that is optional. You can schedule your posts, which really helps to maintain consistent publishing schedule. And Publicize is a way to automate sharing your content out to certain social media platforms. So if we go over here, when you're on post, this is where all those settings are going to show up. So you can see we've got a section for categories, and you can pick from existing categories. You can also add a new category on the fly while you're building your content. This is where the tags are. Now, the thing with tags is I really recommend searching and selecting. anytime you type a new tag in there, if you say did a typo, so let's say I went, okay, that is, this is spelt wrong. This is not a tag that I have in my list of tags. And if I hit enter now, it's going to add that misspelt tag to my list of tags. And it's wrong, right? So I really recommend pre-planning your tags, getting them set up in advance, and then searching. So if you're like, oh, I know I've got a featured one, why isn't that working? Oh, I spelled it wrong. And if I start typing FEA, now I get the right one and I can select it, okay? So that's just a side note. That's like a quick tip thing that I recommend with tags. Otherwise, your tag list can get really unruly. It's not the end of the world if they're not applied to anything, they're just sitting there, but I don't know. I like things to be neat and organized. Featured image. So as I mentioned, this is quite important when it comes to posts. When we're using blocks like the query loop block and the blog post block throughout our site, you know, you might have a post page where you're showing everything. You might have category specific pages where you're only showing posts from a particular category. Images are really visual. People like to see them. And those particular blocks need the featured image. So even if you've got images inside the post content, like in here, if you don't have a featured image set on it, the image will not show in the query loop or the blog post block. And when you're sharing to social media will grab an image from within the content if there isn't a featured image set, but you have more control if you set the featured image. So you know what image is being shared, and you can also set the size better. Social media tend to like images to be within a range. They don't like them too small. They don't like them too big. And every platform has its own rules. So you'll kind of need to look through and see. I tend to recommend 1200 pixels to 2000 pixels on the width, because most of them like the horizontal images. So I tend to recommend that, as you're in the safe zone if you're between 1200 and 2000 pixels on your width. Okay. Next up is Excerpt. Excerpt is totally optional. Some people like to have control over what the message is that shares through search engines. This doesn't matter so much for your social media, because through the Publicize feature, you can set the custom message. It will also use this throughout your site if you're displaying excerpts anywhere and you put a specific one. So that's more of a personal preference as to whether or not you want control, or whether you just want the first, you know, few sentences or few lines of your content to be what displays. That's fine either way. And you can also control on a per post basis whether or not you allow comments, as well as that being a global setting. Then up at the top is where we have our scheduling stuff. So visibility is literally what makes it public, private, or a password protected post. Doesn't matter what your site privacy is set at. You could have your site public and you could set this post to private, and only people that you've given permission to will be able to see this particular post, even though they can see the whole site. And conversely, if your site is set to be private or coming soon, and you publish a post and make it public, nobody can see that when the site is, you know, private and coming soon and whatever. Only on a private site, it's only people you've given permission to, you've invited specifically to the site. But this means that you can set your site to be coming soon or private and publish your content while you're building stuff up, so that you can see what it's going to look like without concern of it actually going out into the wild. Okay. And then scheduling your posts, super handy feature. So you can get a nice calendar planned out with a regular flow. You can batch create. Some people like me, I much prefer to sit down and spend a day and just write for the day and line up a bunch of content for the future, so that I know I've got stuff planned out in advance. And it's kind of handy, you know, I mean, we never know what tomorrow's going to bring, right? And, you know, if you get sick or whatever, and you just don't feel like writing, you've already got your content lined up, so you can take a break and take a day off, and you're not going to disrupt your consistency with your blogging. So I highly recommend using the scheduling feature. The only No, on some sites, if you're on the like the pro or business plan and you're using some plugins, sometimes you can run into a missed schedule if your site doesn't have enough traffic. But there are ways around that. So if you're in a WordPress.com site and you notice as a post doesn't publish when it's supposed to, do reach out to us. We can give you some tips on that. And there's also information in here in our knowledge base. If we have a look at troubleshooting, this here will cover off some information as well as to why something might not have published. So it's always worth taking a look at that as well. Okay, last piece on this one is Publicize. So Publicize, I don't think I have it. Oh, I do. Okay. So when you're creating a new post, you have the ability to connect your social media accounts. And I'm going to open that in a new tab. And then you can choose whether to share it. So you could turn it off for like a specific account. You could have multiple accounts set up in here for Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr. And you can turn each one of those off and on a per post basis. And you can give a custom message. I do believe that all of the ones you have checked off use it. I don't think it's a custom message per platform. So you just write one standard custom message and then that shares out. But you can play around with these settings and you can turn to not share if you don't want a particular post to go to your social as well. So you've got control of that. And this connect an account link takes you over here, which in WordPress.com is located under Tools, Marketing, Connections. If you're on a self-hosted site, you probably don't have this particular menu structure, and Publicize is a Jetpack feature. So you would need to go into your Jetpack settings. You'd have to have that plugin installed and go into that to configure this. But yeah, you can connect Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Tumblr. These bottom ones are for integrating other types of accounts, but not for auto sharing. So even though Instagram is here, Instagram is very restrictive as to who it will allow to auto post to the platform. So in this case, you're connecting it so that you can display your Instagram posts in your site and blog and, on a page wherever you want, but it's pulling it into your site. You're not posting your blog posts to Instagram. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. And I am going to go back to here because I do a really deep dive into all of those types of features in this webinar that we did. It was a special topic webinar. But you can definitely rewatch this one. The replay is on there and you can get a ton more information around the integration back and forth between your website and social media, which is a really important feature when you're blogging because you need to distribute it. And that's what social media is really all about, is that they're distribution channels. Your blog and your website is your central hub. That's where your content lives. You own that. Social media, you're at the whim of their rules and changes and whatever have you, right? So it's always better to start with your content in your blog and then distribute it through the social media channels to get it out into the world and drive more traffic back to your blog. Okay, so that's a side tip on that. See, I sidetracked again. Okay, categories and tags. I just want to have a look. Okay, so we're about halfway in and we're just over halfway on the thingies here. So we're doing all right. We'll keep this open and I'm just going to have a quick scan in the questions here because some of the questions were flagged for me to address as well. So let's do this before I jump into the second part of all of this. Carl, is it possible to run multiple blogs from one site? So yes and no. This next section we're going to tackle of categories and tags will show you how you can have multiple pages within your site that are dedicated to particular categories of posts. So in a way, you could do that. But I mean, if you're trying to, like, if they have completely different branding, it might be a little bit trickier, except that we now have FSE, full site editing, which could make that possible. I don't have an easy answer for you, and I'm rambling now. Yes, if you're creative. No, if it's a little too complicated. I'm going to show you some tricks. I hope that will help when I actually show it. Francis, what are some of the simplest and accessible themes for a novice to get started designing a blog? I'm going to say our hybrid themes. Full site editing, which I'm going to show you a brief bit on in a moment, is fabulous. It is so powerful. There is so much you can do with it, but it has a learning curve, and you need to spend that time to watch some videos, read some articles, test and play, and see what happens when you click things. So it takes a little bit longer. One of our hybrid themes are, they have a little bit more limitation to them. Let me go in here. And I think I cover this. Oh no, that's, yeah. I do a lot of these, so I'm trying to remember which is in which part. If you search in here for hybrid, then you're going to pull up all of our themes that are hybrid themes. And these all work very similarly. They have settings in the customizer. They don't have access to the full site editing site editor. You do everything within the block editor and the customizer. So that's something I would say these are probably the easiest to work with, but they're going to be restrictive. You know, you're not going to be able to rearrange your header the way you want. You might not have access to a particular sidebar or footer setup the way you want, you know. So keep that in mind. But if you're okay with just saying, you know what, I just want this to look like this and replace my content on the homepage and just create my own pages, then that's probably your easiest route. Dahlia's asked, can you explain how to use SEO plugins such as Yoast? Any advice on how to improve SEO would be really helpful. Okay, so no, unfortunately, I can't explain how to use Yoast simply because it is a third-party plugin that we don't develop. Now, I do personally use Yoast and I do recommend it, but to learn how to use it, I recommend going through their documentation. They have really good documentation that explains how to use their plugin. That aside, we have an SEO course. So over on WP Courses, go into the Intro to SEO, and this, oh, look, it logged me out. This course has 14 lessons in it, and it really walks you through all of the basics and a little bit of the advanced stuff when it comes to SEO. So I highly recommend this. We've had really good feedback on this course. It's got a lot of valuable information in it. So I would recommend going there, and we do have some links out to some Yoast information within this course as well. So not how to use the plugin, but there is information about it. Okay, so yeah, that would be my recommendation on that one. Okay, we're going to dive into tags in a minute. Okay, should you categorize in tag? Erica, yes, you should. So let's have a look here. Okay, so categories and tags. Basically, this organizes your content, your post content, to make it more searchable for readers. They can only be added to posts, not pages. And it's from the editor in the sidebar. So we had a look at that. Let me open both actually to show you the difference here. So when you are adding a new post, so when we're on the settings tab, it says post at the top. And we see we've got these features. I'm just going to collapse these up to make it a shorter list here. Okay, so you can see we've got categories and tags. When you are in the page editor, so again, it says page at the top here. And now when we have a look at all of these, this little list of features here, there is no category and tags. Okay. The other thing that we'll notice is when we hover over posts here, we see categories and tags as something we can get into. And you can actually You can add new categories and organize your categories from here. Same with your tags. And when you hover over pages, they don't have those options. There's no category and tag section for those. Okay, so keep that all in mind. The other thing you can do is you can bulk edit this stuff. So if you get a lot of categories and tags and you're like, oh, I need to do a whole bunch of cleanup, click on this view at the top and go to classic view. And from here, you'll have bulk edit actions. So you can delete, if you have a whole bunch of unused ones, you could just bulk delete them by clicking off the ones you want. And you can also edit them from here if you needed to change information about them from there. Okay, so you can do a bit of that. Also in your list of posts. So if you're in WordPress.com, this here is likely your default view. That's what you normally see when you look at your list of posts. You have the option to switch to the classic view here as well. And the classic view is what most self-hosted sites are seeing. So you see this layout here. And again, you can bulk edit. And the nice thing with this is that you can bulk edit to add categories or tags to a batch of posts. You cannot bulk edit like this to remove a category or post. So even if you had ones that were selected for the same category, you wouldn't be able to deselect it from this bulk editor. You can only add them. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But a quick way to, if you needed to remove a particular one, use this quick edit option that you'll see when you hover over these, because that's just going to bring up this little mini panel. And from here, these ones you can add and remove, as needed kind of deal. And then click update to apply those changes. So that's a quick edit is a way to remove tags and categories. Bulk edit is a way you can add them to a whole bunch of posts at the same time. Now, when it comes to doing these, think of, as I've got on my screen, think of your categories as the broad grouping, table of contents at the front of a book, your main chapter headings. Tags are best used for specific things. So think of the index it's at the back of a book, right? It's more specific. So if you had a site that was about food and entertainment, and you had a section on wine, wine might be a category that you have in your category structure. And then under tags, you might break it down into red wine, white wine, Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot. You could get more specific and apply those tags to make the content more searchable. So really think of that as the two levels as to why you're using the specific categories and tags. For really organizing and drilling down on the content. And we'll get into the reader. We've got 15 minutes left. I'm hoping I don't run out of time. And I want to thank my colleagues for all the questions that they've been answering. They've been doing fabulous with that. Just sidetrack there, Joanne, how many words is a blog generally? For SEO purposes, it is typically recommended that you want them to be at least 300 words. Or more. That said, there's nothing wrong with a short form post if that serves your needs. So you can do the range of the length of each post. And again, we really do deep dive into that in the course. So highly recommend you check that out. But typically, and actually that is a combination between the blogging course and the SEO course. You'll get both information, crossed over on that. And yeah, I can mark that one. That's pretty much what you're looking at for that. So with these categories and tags, organizing the content, making sure people can find it. You'll want to perhaps include them in your menus, things like that. But also, how do you want it to display in your site, right? Like you could have just the default page where it just shows all of your posts, or it could have a default archive category page that shows all of the posts of one particular category, but you can also create custom ones. And this is where I want to spend a bit of time. Yeah, we're going to spend a few minutes in this part here. So custom post pages. What all do I have open here? Close this one. I've got a lot of tabs open here. So, okay. This is the preview of my site. If we go to this posts page in my menu here, this is an example of a default post page. And I'm on the Rockfield theme right now, okay? And the Rockfield theme, its default for the post page is to give a nice big display of the featured image. So this is the featured image set on the post. And then it lists the entire post. And then it moves on to the next one. Title, big feature image, the entire content of the post, and then your metadata at the bottom for date and whatever, that kind of stuff. I'm not a big fan of this layout, to be honest. I don't like big images like this, and I don't like the constant scrolling of everything. Half the time I miss that I've moved on to a new article. So the other option is that you can create a custom post page. And you can use things like the post carousel slider, where you can assign specific posts to display in this. You can break it down by categories using the blog post block or the query loop block and display particular posts in one format. You can then have another section and you can display them in a different format. So you've got a lot of control that can make the page a lot more interesting, right? And you can really guide your readers and your visitors to your site to the areas that are most important to you, what you want to really highlight, as well as having access to everything. The theme will also provide default category pages. Okay, so this one is my reader interest category. This one is giving me Excerpt, so that's a little better, but it's still a really big featured image. And it just lists them sort of one after the other with an excerpt. So that is the default, and it shows this up at the top here too with this category. Archive is a very common thing ahead of these names, and you can't, there's no easy way to get rid of that just in a standard default page. So what I want to show you is, oh, this one here. So I showed you that one. Now, this is a category page. Now this superpowers is also, doesn't display well in my preview. Let's open this in a new tab. This superpower one is a custom category page. So whereas this one was created by the theme, I created this one and applied blocks to only show the category of superpowers. Okay. I need to tweak this a little bit. Things like, you know, this title is on 3 lines, so it's shoving my images a little out of whack and things like that. So a little bit more work needs to be done here. But this first one we're looking at, top part here, is the query loop block. And if we scroll down, you can see what happens if there is no featured image added to the post. So these ones have a featured image, this one and these ones do not. So it just doesn't show the image. And down here, this one is using the blog post block. And this is just one of the configurations. Like there's so many different ways you can lay these posts out. But this is showing you in the Rockfield theme what these look like. What I want to do, okay, so we've talked about the default pages. They are controlled by the theme. You have very little control over them yourself. Static pages can be used. Can be built using the query loop or blog post block. So that's what this is. Okay, so this is a custom one. Then we have FSE templates. So if you're using a full site editing theme, you have category or archive templates that you can work with, and you can create custom templates. So when we go over to appearance themes, Rockfield is a hybrid theme. They're not labeled this way, but again, when you search them, if you search for hybrid themes and look through here, you're going to see that Rockfield is listed here. If we search for universal, this is universal is another theme type, and it does use the full site editing features. And when you scroll down here, these themes all use full site editing. There's different ways that you can search for that as well. And again, in the blogging course, we actually have a lesson that dives a little bit more into what all these themes are. But I want to activate Russell and show you when we activate this, we are definitely running tight on time. Okay, so I've activated the Russell theme. So now let's go back to my home page. Okay, so we see that it looks a little bit differently. This top header is different to what it was. Yeah, see, this was the top header in the Rockfield theme. Now we're in the Russell theme. Looks a little bit different, not a huge amount. My layout was built with blocks, so overall, the general homepage looks pretty similar. The post page, this theme handles it differently to what Rockfield did. So Rockfield had the big image. This is a much tighter way to do it, but you have control over this because we use templates. Okay, so where you get to the templates is under Appearance. I need to refresh. Let's do it from here. Appearance Editor. So when you have a full site editing theme, you're going to see this editor beta show up under Appearance, and in there you will be able to edit your templates. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into the full site editing features. From here, you can get to your templates and template parts. And that webinar, let me drop, I think I already dropped that link, but let's put it in once more. Highly recommend either attending the one today or watching this replay to understand how to work with the full site editing site editor. But in here, you do have control over editing your specific templates and applying them to various pages. When you are creating a particular page, you also have control to create a new template specific to that page. So this is how you can do custom templates. And I did on this one, I created this superpower category template, and I did that by clicking new. You can also edit it from in here to do, tweaks and whatnot. That's a possibility. You can also edit them from the site editor. And this is the one where I was telling you before, we'll go into this one. This is where you see template up at the top. This is the site editor, okay? And these are all built with blocks as well. So very similar to when you're creating your content on a page or post, you can go through and adjust things as to how you want them to display. Just know that these are a template. So I'm on an archive template right now, and any changes I make to how this page is laid out, if I made this featured image go wider, if I adjusted these settings on it, I think I can do it here actually. Yeah. If I made it go full width like that, that change isn't for this image, it's for this block, and it's going to apply across all of the pages that are using the archive template. Okay, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. But when you've done this type of thing, and as I mentioned, I created this superpower one. So I can't show you here now because I've already reloaded it, but this is basically what a regular one was looking like in the Rockfield. If we now go to my superpower page, I created a custom header specifically for this category. And this page is only displaying my superpower posts for that category. So this is the kind of power you have with full site editing, is that this is all in the same site now. So if we go home, this is what my header looks like. If we go to a post page, that's what the archive template is looking like. I have a custom one, which is also just using the regular page template. And I have my superpower one, which has an entirely different header, right? And you can do that on a per page, per category, per post. There's so much control. So highly recommend playing around with that, attending or watching the full site editing webinars so that you can get a better understanding of how to do this type of thing. But that is ways that you're able to work with these full site editing templates to control your content and the way your site is going to display. That took me longer to explain than I expected. So we're going to blast through these last couple points pretty quick. Basically, I want to make sure you're aware of the reader. So whenever you're in your account, up in the top left corner, you will always see the link to the reader. And this reader is a place where you can explore content. It's kind of like its own social media. So any of the posts that you publish in WordPress.com that are eligible, it's not a high bar. Like, we won't put mature content, and if you have an excessive number of categories and tags. So that was a point I should have mentioned earlier. With your categories and tags combined, don't put any more than 15. Okay, so add up how many categories and how many tags you have. Make sure the total is no more than 15. That's a really important thing. If you have more than 15, it won't get published in the reader. Okay, so keep that in mind. And search engines don't like it either. It makes it feel spammy. Okay. But through this reader section, you can search. So if you wanted to search for travel blogs, it's going to do travel. It's going to give you posts from a bunch of random sites. And it's also going to give you specific sites that probably have the word travel in their site name. Okay. And you can do a ton of exploring through here to get ideas, to follow and find other people and sites that you enjoy, and also to network. Networking in your blogging journey is a really important part of building your audience. So again, in the course, we cover a lot more in the strategies around doing that. But the reader is a really great tool for that. It's also good for researching out. Oh, Alex, on per post. Sorry. Yeah, per post, no more than 15. But yeah, it's a great place to, and you can do keyword searches in here too. So if you're wondering, like if I wanted to say, travel the desert, I almost typed desert. Travel the desert, you're going to see some of these keywords or tags that people are using, and it'll give you some ideas of what types of tags you might want to use. You can also search by specific tags over here as well. So it's just a great way to explore and network. Okay, so I definitely recommend that you spend some time investigating through there. Any advice on how to grow your readership? Through the reader? Dahlia, that's what I would do is, it's a process. There's no one trick to growing your audience for a blog. It's posting consistently. It's having, good quality, relevant content that people want to be reading. It's understanding your SEO, how to get your keywords built into your content, and networking using tools like the reader, where you can connect with other bloggers. You would comment on their posts, like their posts, follow them, and often they will reciprocate and follow you back. But you need to be genuine about it as well. Definitely don't go into posts and be like, this is cool, or hi, or I'm here, or like random things like that. Don't do that. Be genuine. Say, hey, I really love this article, found it really interesting, and say why. What was a particular point in their article? That's a huge tip that tells people that you actually read their content. If you just say, hey, thanks for sharing, this was great, a dime a dozen, anybody could have just put that on without reading it. But if you draw something out of their actual content and be like, I don't know, I love Arizona's borderlands. They're fabulous. I have no idea. I'm not thinking off the top of my head well right now, but pull something out of their content to comment on specifically. And that's a great way to network and grow your audience. And then to people who are like, algorithms will share stuff up. So if people following this blog will also potentially find your blog when you're networking and you're not cross sharing, but you're following them, they're following you, you're commenting on theirs, they're commenting on yours, that kind of stuff, right? It just helps to network out. Okay, we're at the top of the hour. I got one more quick slide for you here, and that's on stats. And actually, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this anyways, because it should be the last thing you look at. Give yourself runtime to build your blog. Don't get obsessed with constantly looking at your stats. This is my demo site. it can be a little discouraging to come in here and constantly see no activity this period. Once you do have some traffic happening, it'll be exciting at first, but I mean, I've had this blog for a long time. I'm not very active on it. I don't get a lot of views, right? I don't get a lot of visitors, and that can get discouraging sometimes. So I don't want you to fixate on the stats, but know that they are a useful tool. You can use them to kind of see if there's patterns around when people are coming to your site. You know, this one's an interesting one here. I had 2 visitors and 17 views. So they were just going, you know, a couple of people came to the site and they were just reading through a bunch of content. Whereas this one, I had 6 visitors and 8 views. So 6 people all looked at probably 1 article each, you know, a couple people looked at 2. So it really gives you a picture. And then you can also see, well, you'll know what the date is. So this was May 1st. I don't think I published anything on May 1st. That's probably why. But you can see things like what you published on those particular days. So then you can look at your list of posts and be like, okay, I published this article and that day was really popular. So that content or topic must have been popular, right? So look at that kind of stuff, but use these. So you've got traffic, which gives you a broader sort of bigger picture look. Insights will drill it down a bit. You know, you get this calendar that really shows you higher traffic. More views is darker. The lighter it is, the less views. So like August of 2015, I was hopping. I was active back then, right? So that's gives you a picture of what's happening. And you can just see different things, you know, different stats. Most popular day was Tuesday, most popular hour is 2 p.m. That's going to be based on your site settings and time zone. And this can help you guide how you're planning out your content. So that's what I recommend you looking at for this once you start getting some traffic, but don't fixate on the numbers to start with. Really focus on getting value out of what this picture is telling you. We went over the hour by 3 minutes, but I did get through it all. I hope this has been helpful. I know we blasted through a ton of information. You know, I had 8 slides of information here. It is more of an overview, a high level look at things. Really don't have time to dig deep on a webinar approach. However, I do recommend a few things, as I've mentioned. One is going into that blogging here to watch the replay of our recording. It's a much more structured, covers a lot of the same stuff that I have, goes in a little bit more detail in a few different areas. So it's worth watching that to get a different angle and maybe catch a few other pieces. And check out the course. You know, it's a free course. You don't have to do everything sequentially. You can jump around and go to the particular lessons that are of most interest to you, if that's the way you want to do it. But yeah, I really hope this has been helpful, and I appreciate you being here. Okay, so Tammy, this was very helpful. Seeing what all is available in full site editing motivates me to get started. Yay, it is so cool. Like, you have to sit back, get a cup of tea, commit yourself to a couple of hours of just poking and playing. But once you do that, oh, it's amazing. It opens up an incredible world of things that you can do. And Viv, thank you. You're welcome. And thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed this better than the recorded version. As I said at the beginning, this was an experiment. This is the very first time I've done this particular topic completely live like this. It's a learning curve for us. I've gotten a lot of value out of this, and helps me to sort of figure out, you know, what things maybe we should cut back on a little bit and different areas we should focus on. So thank you for allowing me to experiment with you. And this is great. Lots of comments coming in. Already signed up for the sneak peek later. Great. Excellent. All right. I'm going to leave this screen open. So actually, let me one more time Okay, on Viv's comment in the Q&A, I'm going to post the full link list of all of the links that I shared earlier, because you can copy them from there. So I've answered Viv's thank you comment with that list. And I'm going to leave the screen open for a couple of minutes so you can copy answers out of the Q&A and click on links and all that kind of stuff. And then the screen will just shut down automatically. Please do remember to fill out the survey that you will receive regarding that. We'd really like your feedback on how this went, what worked, what didn't work. If you have any suggestions for changes, we're definitely reading those feedback comments. All righty. Can we download the Q&A? I don't think you can. The chat box will give you a prompt option to save, but I don't think the Q&A does that, but you can copy, like actually copying. I think you can highlight the whole thing, actually, kind of just drag your mouse and select all of it. I think that works. If I remember correctly, actually, you can do the Command A or Control A on your keyboard, and it highlights everything, and you can just copy it all from there for that. So that is that one. All right, I'm going to turn off my video and audio. Thank you again all for attending. Really appreciate you being here. And thank you to my colleagues for answering all the questions. I did not manage to keep much of an eye on that. So really appreciate all of you. And we hopefully will see you at another webinar. Bye for now.